Good day, and we're going to talk about today the Accuplacer test, what the Accuplacer might look like, and some good testing tips in order to score higher on the Accuplacer. Now, this is going to be part one where we talk a lot about the reading passages and the reading comprehension. I'll put out another video where we talk a little bit about sentence structure and a bit more about the sentence comparisons part. But first, let's talk about the reading comprehension for the Accuplacer. Now, one of the most important skills is identifying the topic and the main idea for each passage. For example, when we look at the topic, we want to find out what the subject of a text or what the text is all about. So the first paragraph's first sentence is often but not always the main topic sentence. Usually that first sentence in that paragraph should give you a summary of the content of the paragraph. Now, when we look at the whole passage in itself, you're looking for the main idea. Now, that would be the most important point being made by the author. So in order to identify the main idea of the passage, that would help you, assist you in choosing the correct multiple choice answers. So if they're asking for a topic, look at the one paragraph, perhaps look at the paragraph's first sentence. If they're asking you to look for the main idea of the passage, identifying the main idea, you're going to have to look at the entire passage. Next, they might be asking you questions about the supporting details in the passage. Now, supporting details provide evidence and backing for the main point. They serve to reinforce a larger point. Watch for words like for example, for instance, or perhaps first, second, and last. These particular words are going to start pointing out your supporting details. Keep in mind that supporting details can be factual and correct, but they might not be relevant to the author's main idea or the author's point. For example, you might have the main idea, giraffes live in the Serengeti of Africa. So the text is going to be about giraffes. But your supporting detail might tell you, a giraffe uses its long neck to reach twigs and leaves on trees. Now that's a very specific fact about how giraffes eat. It doesn't mean that it is in particular about the main idea, but it certainly would be a supporting detail about giraffes. Next is the paragraph focus. You might have questions asking you what the focus is. So focus on the first sentence of the paragraph. That's usually going to be the most important. The main topic of the paragraph is usually found there. So as you read a question on your Accuplacer, try to determine which part of the paragraph will have the answer. For example, perhaps the first sentences are about poets and the next sentences talk about poetry. If a question asks about poetry, you're going to want to go to the poetry sentences. And for each answer choice, try to see how many sentences are related. Choose ideas that are supported by the most sentences possible. So as you're going through your reading comprehension questions, you're going to be deciding whether or not you can directly answer the question or at the very least make predictions about the answer to the question. So as you make predictions, you're going to read the passage, you're going to read the question, and try and guess what the answer is going to be. So 3 of the 4 answers are wrong, and when you read them, your mind could probably become cluttered and perhaps confuse you or even throw you off. But if your mind is most focused immediately after reading a passage, you may be surprised at what you can predict. So it may seem obvious to pick only answer choices that answer the question, but the test can contain excellent answer choices that are wrong. So remember, you must answer the question. Therefore, for your reading comprehension, a good rule of thumb is, for a tip, read your questions first and then go back and read the passage. When you read the questions, you might realize there are certain types of switchback words that they'll give you a hint as to what it is they're looking for. Or you might be presented with a technical-based passage. Don't get lost on technical terms. Skip them and move on to the words and phrases you understand. Now remember, you want a general understanding of the passage and not a mastery of the passage. You're not here to actually study that particular content. You just need to have a general understanding of what is going on in the passage. There are also words and phrases that are used to alert you to shifts in thought. So a lot of times with these transitioning words, they usually happen at the beginning of sentences and at the beginning of paragraphs, we might be switching you to a different topic in the content. And some of those words might be but, although, however, while, on the other hand, even though, nevertheless, and in spite of. Next, you're going to want to identify the sentences that the answer is in and focus on those sentences. Don't get distracted by a choice in your multiple choice question that is factually true, but is not answering the question. The answer to the question might be just one tiny aspect in the paragraph. Always return to the question and make sure you're answering what actually answers the question. We're not just looking for true statements. You're here to answer the question on hand. So a lot of times the directions you're going to find on the Accuplacer in the reading passage asking you to read the statement or passage and then choose the best answer to the question. They might also tell you to answer the question based on what is stated or implied in the statement or passage. Again, there is some confusion even in the directions. They ask you to choose the best answer. So again, reread the question. You might have a factual statement as one of the four choices, but if it doesn't answer their specific question, you should not choose it. You need to answer their question. So let's practice. We have here a passage that we're going to read, and then we're going to see if we can answer the question with the best choice of answers. Many people fail to realize just how crucial getting a good night's sleep actually is. It is usually suggested that adults get about 7 hours of sleep every night, and younger children should get even more. Sleep has several benefits. First, it is believed to improve memory. This is one reason why it is always preferable to sleep the night before a test, rather than stay up for the entire night to review the information. On a related note, sleep also improves concentration and mental alertness. Those who get sufficient sleep are able to concentrate on work tasks better and also react faster when they're driving a car, for example. Finally, people who get enough sleep have better immunity against illness. The reason for this is not fully understood, but researchers believe that an increase in the production of growth hormone and melatonin plays a role. So now we need to ask, what is the topic and what is the main idea? Remember, these are two separate questions. When we look at the idea of a topic, perhaps look at the first sentence or two and see what the topic is. So our first sentence reads, many people fail to realize just how crucial getting a good night's sleep actually is. So our topic is going to be getting a good night's sleep. The main idea of the passage, however, you need to look at the entire paragraph or paragraphs to understand your main idea. Because when you read through the rest of the main ideas, you hear how sleep has several benefits, and how people who get enough sleep have better immunity against illnesses, how they improve their concentration and mental alertness. In the main idea, it starts telling you why a good night's sleep helps people, whereas the topic is just how crucial getting a good night's sleep is. So what tips can we use before reading the question? Well, we already now know what the difference is between a topic sentence, maybe just reading the first sentence and realizing what our starting or introduction is, and that the main idea is what everything is about in the entire passage. So now that you've read the passage and looked at the question, don't look at the answers. Instead, try to guess what the answer might be. So if your question is, the main purpose of this passage is, we're looking for the main idea. What is the whole passage on? So I just don't want to hear that it's crucial to get a good night's sleep. That would be the topic. But the main purpose is probably trying to tell us why getting a good night's sleep is beneficial. What role does a good night's sleep play? So let's look at our different answers that we can choose from. The main purpose of this passage is A, to talk about the benefits of sleep, B, to discuss how much sleep people should get, C, to identify which hormones can boost immunity, or D, to present strategies for improving memory and concentration. Now, there are some answers here that sound truthful, but it's not the main purpose of the passage. And then some we don't even have the answers to. For example, they don't present strategies for improving our memory and concentration. We're talking about getting a good night's sleep, and yes, they said good night's sleep can help improve memory and concentration, but they didn't present strategies for us to do that. So there are going to be some answers here that are not pertinent, they're wrong. But there are some that could sound correct. After all, it does identify which hormones can boost immunity. But that's one fragment of the entire passage. That's not our main purpose. That doesn't cover everything in the passage. So already we can knock off letters C and D because that doesn't cover the entire passage. So our best answer would have been answer A, to talk about the benefits of sleep. As you go back and look through the passage, they talk about how it helps us with our memory and concentration. That hormones that we get while we sleep and our melatonin help us become healthier. So all of the benefits of sleep cover the entire passage, cover the entire paragraph. Letter A would be the best choice to the main idea or purpose of the passage. Let's try another one. The Amazon rainforest is one of the most important ecosystems in the world. However, it is slowly being destroyed. Areas of the rainforest are being cleared for farms and roads, and much of the wood is also being harvested and sold. There are several compelling reasons to protect this area. First, a significant number of pharmaceuticals are made from plants that have been discovered in the rainforest. And it's quite possible there are still important plants that have not yet been discovered. Secondly, the rainforest provides a significant portion of the world's oxygen and also absorbs great amounts of carbon dioxide. Without rainforests, global warming could accelerate. All right, now that you've read the passage and looked at the question, let's not look at the answers yet, but instead try to guess what the answer might be. Again, we're looking at the idea of main purpose or the main idea. We don't just want the first sentence. We don't just want a specific topic. We want the whole entire passage being guessed upon. So let's look at our answers. Letter A, to present the major reasons why the Amazon rainforest is being destroyed. Letter B, to explain why the Amazon rainforest should be protected. Letter C, to argue that the rainforest has helped in the development of medications. Letter D, to discuss how the rainforest has helped in the development of medications. So if we start looking at our different answers here, there first of all are a couple that talk very specifically about specific topics. That would not cover the entire paragraph or the entire main purpose. If we look at, for example, at letters C and D, where we're arguing how the rainforest has helped in the development of medications and to discuss how the rainforest has helped in the development of medications, yes, those are covered, but that's not the entire main purpose of the passage. So when we look at our answers A and B, where we have them telling us that the rainforest is being destroyed and how the rainforest should be protected, looking back at our paragraph, they're giving us reasons why we want to protect and save our Amazon rainforest. Therefore, answer B, to explain why the Amazon rainforest should be protected, is likely our best answer for the main purpose or the main idea of the passage. Let's try another. The internet has made life a whole lot easier for many people, but being online also brings with it very real risks. Hackers can steal personal and financial information. There are several precautions that computer users can take to minimize the level of risk that is involved with being online. One of the most obvious safety precautions is to purchase a good antivirus and anti-spyware program. Passwords are also very important. Several tips can help users create more secure passwords. First, there should be something that can be easily remembered, but they shouldn't be something others can guess easily. Your first or last name, phone number, or the name of the street you live on are all bad choices, as people could learn this information easily. Longer passwords are more secure, and those that use a mixture of upper and lowercase letters and a combination of letters and numbers are more secure than those that don't. Finally, passwords should be changed often. This can make remembering them more difficult, but the extra effort is worth the added security. So again, before we move on to the next passage, we already know we're looking for the main purpose. So before we look at the different choices we have for answers, when we look at our first sentence, our topic sentence, the internet has made life a whole lot easier for many people, but being online also brings with it very real risks. That can go anywhere from being at risk for losing your information, your personal information. It could be risks of going into a deep, dark web area. It could be a risk of maybe perhaps you go gambling, or perhaps you're buying too much with your online shopping. There's a lot of risks. So that's a very vague topic. Remember, our main passage or our main purpose is looking at the entire paragraph. So we can see they give us an example. Hackers can steal personal and financial information. And then in our third sentence, they start leading us to our main passage. There are several precautions that computer users can take to minimize the level of risk that is involved with being online. And then the rest of your passage gives ideas about how you can protect yourself online. Purchasing good antivirus and anti-spyware programs. Getting secure passwords, and then how to create secure passwords, and then finally when you should be changing your passwords. So that first sentence does not give us our main purpose. Using precautions online, such as getting good antiviral protection, changing your password, and changing your passwords often, are going to be about your main passage. So now that we've tried to guess what the answer might be, let's go look at our options. The main purpose of this passage is to A, discuss the major risks associated with internet use. Well, that was our topic sentence, but they don't discuss the major risks that often in our passage. B, talk about the importance of antivirus programs. They did state that in one sentence. C, outline important considerations for passwords. It seemed like a lot of our paragraph, a lot of our passage spent a lot of time talking about passwords. D, discuss why certain types of passwords shouldn't be used. Actually, our passage talked about what types of passwords that we should use. So letter C is actually our correct answer. Your passage outlined a lot of times important considerations for passwords, when and how often you should change your password, what types of passwords you should be creating, such as using letters and numbers. And then, of course, they did talk in one sentence about using antiviral and anti-spyware, but most of your passage talked about the important considerations for passwords. Thank you so much for stopping by for our part 1, where we discussed the different types of reading comprehension passages, especially when it comes to the main idea or main purpose. If you check out our part 2 video, you're going to notice more about sentence structure and a bit more about the grammar that you might find on an Accuplacer test. So if you'd like to learn more about reading comprehension about the Accuplacer, or maybe about reading comprehension for, say, an ACT or an SAT test, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what other types of reading comprehension questions or reading comprehension tests you'd like to learn about. Otherwise, check out my part 2, in which you're going to learn more about the Accuplacer. And as always, thanks for stopping by.